here's your shot. Tell me why.
Yeah.
And what is the core of TLU that really drives you here?
Yeah. So our faith identity is incredibly important to us. We were founded with a close tie to a specific denomination,
Yeah.
and as I said earlier, to training Lutheran ministers. I mean, that was what birthed us to
Right.
begin with. I think one of the great things about TLU's story is that over the years, we've stayed true to that original tie, even as we've evolved and changed and certainly broadened the students that we serve. But I think being a Lutheran institution, it does mean that we have a tie and a connection to the Lutheran Church, which we're very proud of. It also means that as we educate our students, we're very interested in their spiritual development. It does not mean that we're serving primarily Lutheran students, because that's not the case.
Welcome to another episode of Discover Seguin. I'm your host, David Pope, with Menard Donegan Insurance. I'm here today with Dr. Debbie Cottrell of Texas Lutheran University. And hopefully we're going to just have a great conversation today about what we're doing currently at Texas Lutheran University and what the future holds for the university here in the region, here in our local community, and in the world at large. So, Dr. Cottrell, thank you so much for joining me. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Happy to do this.
Thank you so much. So, you and I were just talking, and we discovered. So, you guys are coming up on the kind of the tail end of a 5-year strategic plan.
Yes.
Now, I've been a part of a lot of strategic plans, and a lot of my strategic plans, a lot of times, I'm going to admit to, sometimes end up, on a shelf. And, we did them. We did a lot of work putting them together. We got them built. And then did we execute? So I guess my question to you is, how do you grade TLU? How do you grade you on having executed the plan, and where are you at?
Well, thank you again for this opportunity and for that great opening question, because the strategic plan, which we have called TLU 2025, has really been functioning since about 5 years ago as our roadmap. As it turns out, we started this plan as I became president. Then we had, the pandemic.
Sure.
And so we had to adjust a little bit our thinking, and our plan really kind of became a 1+4 plan. The first year, just getting through the pandemic, making sure this institution was open, running strong, to get our students back. And then from there, we built out the next 4 years with strategic goals and initiatives. 5 goals, 25 initiatives, looking to complete them or largely complete them over 5 years. So what we tried to do is let that plan articulate our priorities. Where did we really want to put our resources, our time, and our energy in order to do what we always want to do: serve our students well, honor our faith and our diversity, and ensure our longevity. And I think all of those things run through the strategic plan. We are looking now to complete it in December of 2025. So we're coming into the last year, but we will also use this year to start the next strategic planning process. And this is kind of interesting, now the next plan we think will be a 3-year plan. It used to be that colleges and universities did 10-year plans.
Yeah.
Several years ago, 5 years became the norm, kind of the best practice. And now 3-year plans are more common, which just speaks to the changes in higher education, the changes in the landscape, the idea that if you really want that plan to be a living, breathing document,
Sure.
you probably need a shorter period of time to focus in, still have a roadmap that goes into the future, but not tie yourself to a plan that really, it might be too long, and you might need to be thinking about change and newness and new directions sooner than a 5-year.
Well, and there's a new business to curve that I can't recall right now off the top of my head, but it incorporates a couple of things, which you just kind of, chaos and uncertainty, right? So you're right. 5 year and 10 year plans seem like goals that we couldn't possibly really even think about, even kind of the VUCA. It's volatility, uncertainty, chaos, and um, one other that I can't recall at the moment. But that's one of those things that plans. Once they meet with reality, all of a sudden become, oh wait, this isn't a 5 year plan. This is a 4+1
Right.
or a 1+4 or something else.
No matter what you do, you have to be flexible. That's for sure. It's not about getting locked into something that you
Yeah.
can't depart from. At the same time, you have to have a roadmap, a guide, something that gives you focus. Because here, like really everywhere, we could do any number of things at any given time. Opportunities come along all the time. But making sure you're focused, that you understand that the choices you're making tied to your mission.
Sure.
And that for us is critical, that we keep the mission of TLU front and center, no matter what our strategic plan.
So in that, you mentioned COVID, and obviously one of the things that really shifted just hugely during that time is the need for technology to be able to adapt to distance learning and other types of educational models. How did you guys weather that? Were you already kind of in that, or did y'all have to make a lot of changes and adapt quickly to compensate for that?
Well, we were in it a little bit, and then we had to get it in a lot really fast. And so it was certainly very different than anything TLU had ever done. And I think also an important thing to remember is that as we look to incorporate more of that in the future, we wouldn't necessarily do it the way we did it during
Okay.
COVID. I mean, in COVID, it was all out of necessity.
Sure.
It was fast. It was just trying to make sure we could keep teaching in really in an emergency situation. So I think the best online or sort of non-traditional sort of teaching, I think great things can happen that way, but there are good ways to do that. And we learned a lot of things that we can use going forward. And since COVID, we have added a couple of fully online programs which we didn't have before.
So what are those now?
Well, those are both in the graduate space. So we have 8 graduate programs, and our MBA and our doctorate in educational leadership
Okay.
are both fully.
Okay. So you're meeting kind of that executive MBA.
Yes.
It's so popular out there.
Right.
Well,
Which is a good example of how I would say TLU both stays true to the place that it's always been,
Yeah.
but also moves into new spaces in order to make sure we're meeting the needs of the community of our society, that we're educating in the best way possible. Knowing who you are, knowing what your core is, what your mission is, that's where it starts. You do have to be open to doing things, maybe that you thought you would never do, just in order to ensure that you're serving students now and in the future.
So one of the things obviously now myself as a business owner here in town, one of the things we're obviously interested in is, kind of the career development that goes on here and the partnerships with that the university has started to develop and continues, I think, to work on with local businesses and organizations. Can you tell us more about that?
I think all of that really critical work draws on who TLU is. So we have, I would say, forever been kind of a hybrid institution, meaning we have this liberal arts core, sort of the kind of curriculum and classes you offer when you're founded as a place that's going to train men to go into the Lutheran ministry, which is our history. But then over time, as you're trying to diversify, offer more, serve a broader range of students, you move from Brenham to Seguin. You're looking at the community here. What are the community needs? Then we begin to think about, well, what are some of those professional areas that we can blend with our more traditional liberal arts offerings? And so for a long, long time, what I just described to you, that's not new at TLU. We've done that for a long time, which means that majors like business, majors like kinesiology, now nursing more recently, education, those are our largest majors. And those are majors that really go directly to businesses and to professional needs and services in the community. So, I mean, one thing we do is we graduate a lot of students who are trained to then join the workforce in the community and maybe in areas like education and nursing really meet some critical human service needs. But it's a blended way that we go about education.
Any chance we're going to hear of a risk and insurance concentration?
No, but we knew you were going to get that word insurance then, so it's good you did that. But I mean, I think within our business major, I suspect that there is probably already some of that going on, but maybe not as directly. But,
Uh, so you're working on a new strategic plan. This year is going to be a big planning year for you and your
Yes.
team. You've got some new team members.
Yes.
Uh, we've also got a new political landscape. Uh, Perhaps some of the things that might have been a real focus in the prior strategic plan might even present some risks potentially with the current administration. Can you maybe talk about some of the conversations you guys are having, some of the thoughts you're having with regards to how do you address that? What are the things you're thinking about?
Yeah, I think one of the probably key areas that come to mind is this notion of diversity.
Sure.
And TLU is and has been for a long time very diverse institution. So the elements of the current strategic plan that speak to that were really designed at the time to help us think about how do we serve this population well? How do we take advantage of opportunities? How do we make sure that we are an institution of this region, that we honor that aspect of who we are, recognizing that virtually all of our students come from Texas, most of them come from this part of the state. And how do we make sure that we're welcoming all, as the Lutherans like to say, all are welcome. That's where that came. All of that is still true about TLU, that we want to be a place that welcomes all. We want to be a place that serves our students well, no matter what their backgrounds are. We want to honor a population of first generation students who are getting to college as the first in their family to do so. I mean, there is so much opportunity around all of that, and we will stay committed to that. And we'll be mindful of the larger environment as we always are about, what is I guess we could even say allowable in the current climate versus what isn't. But to me, the most important thing, it's all around serving our students, and that's what we'll continue to work towards.
Awesome. So, let's just get down to, and this is going to be the hardest thing to talk about. Just so, but let's get serious for a moment and tell us about the thing that probably everybody's been waiting for us to do. That's sports. So,
Where do you want to start?
I mean, let's start with football, and then we'll
Right.
and then get on to the other less important.
Yeah, in Texas, let's start with football. Hey, how about this? Let's start here. Let's start with TLU. More than 40% of our students participate in the athletics program. So they have 19 different teams, sports. And so at TLU, you're either an athlete or you're supporting our athlete team. So it's a big part of our community. It's a big part of the culture here. It adds to what we do. And we have this wonderful, as a Division III institution, we have this wonderful way of letting this be an opportunity for students. They don't get athletic scholarships here, but we compete and we compete well. So I mean, I think it's a very much a value added aspect of what is very important. I mean, and we're proud of that, and we're proud of our wins, and we're proud when our athletes maybe start at one level and get to another level. But yeah, it's certainly a huge part of what we do now. Football. So we're very pleased that we had a great fall season, fall of 24, won our conference. And just, it was just an outstanding season. We expect to see that continue. This time of year, we're coming through a really exciting basketball season. Women's basketball team doing particularly well. And just yesterday, home opener for softball. And, that's where we've had national championship team. So, and baseball's underway and, there's always a lot going on, but it's a huge part of who we are. Fits our mission. Again, brings us back to how we serve our students.
Yeah, we employ a couple of former TLU athletes. It's a good thing. We definitely see that. I see as an employer constantly, the value of what athletics, particularly team sports, teaches. But actually, when I say team sports, really and truly, I mean it's true the same in individual sports, right? The discipline that develops from someone learning to do something repetitiously, right, until they perfect it. And probably the other area that's maybe as much or even more akin to that is music. When we see our musicians, just
Right.
those people, the people who go through that really just develop those core disciplines, the discipline of enduring boredom
In order to get better.
in order to get better. And it's just tremendous the outcomes that you can get from it.
Well, and I think, we hear a lot about the discipline, the time management that our athletes have to really become good at in order to do all the things that they want and need to do. And I think also you can't overstate the leadership skills our student athletes have the opportunity to pursue. You see it. You see them come in at one spot, and then you
Yeah.
see after they participate that they're at another spot.
I don't know about other employers, but we definitely look for those things on resumes.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to see, athletic or music or some other kind of endeavor that really kind of develop that leadership, develop that discipline. Those are really key components.
Yeah.
So one of the things I noticed in your strategic plan was, the work that you're doing to really develop out a fuller career development office, I guess, and I'm not sure if that's what you're calling it, but your career services, uh, and that's always been a real key component, right, in professional schools. Somewhat less so in undergrad and other graduate programs. And I'm just curious, I think that's unique of TLU, and I think that's actually a great step. So I want to know, what's your success that you've seen so far in that, and what are your plans for it?
Well, I think we and a lot of schools like us have known for a while that can't just sort of say in the abstract that you're going to help your students get jobs,
Yeah.
and you can't be afraid to talk about career path because that's what parents are going to be interested in, and it's what the students want to, right? Like, even if they're taking some time in college to figure out where they're going to land, or even if they change their mind a time or two, that's all fine. But there has to be a path to a career. And there has to be a progression of knowledge and skills that gets them to that. So a lot of us, several years ago, I would say it goes back a while, recognized that there needed to be some sort of central effort. And these efforts can look differently, but for us, we locate career services within our student affairs area because we want students to be making a connection early on. And we encourage them to use that office as a resource for interview skills or sometimes etiquette skills, um, for internship placement, just a variety of things that helps our students just prepare for what's going to come next. And it's kind of you can go there and get what it may be that you're looking for, what you need. Of course, it has to tie to our academic programs. So, for example, if you're an accounting major here, your accounting faculty are going to work with you a lot on job placement interviews, who they know in the field. That's going to be happening. But they may also send you to the services office to help get some additional contacts and skills. And, that happens all the time. So it's something I think we do very well. And because we can kind of a double team on in
Sure.
terms of helping them get where they need to be, if not triple team it.
Yeah, it's not exclusively this silo here.
Right. Right.
Some gets to it. Yeah, that's good.
But I think it's critical and frankly, the more we do of that, the better.
Fantastic. So your local business connections. Tell me, I know you have situations right now where you've got local businesses, working as adjuncts, local business owners doing uh, internships and doing some other things. I mean, what is going on? Kind of, what are the real opportunities that are out there?
Well, I love the way you ask it because it is kind of multifaceted,
Yeah.
what the way TLU students and the TLU community can connect with SEED. We certainly work on the internship side. We know that local businesses would like to have our students. We know that it's a good opportunity to be very convenient for our students, and it helps our students to the point we just talked about that. That experience in the workplace is really important. We've got students. One student comes to mind who, did some work while she was a student here with a local company and now is, I think just about rented. I mean, so I think there is a lot of that goes on. We are also very aware that there's a lot of talent in the civil community that can help us. So it is not unusual for us at times to tap into expertise in the community to serve as adjunct faculty, come teach a course for us, or maybe come give a guest lecture in a course, because there's a lot right around us.
Sure.
And another really interesting thing about being TLU in Seguin, we recognize how much manufacturing and industrial strength there is in this community. And, we're not offering majors in a lot of those fields that tie directly to the manufacturing.
Right.
But we're offering majors that give students skills to go in and work in those companies, perhaps in other ways, maybe in management, in human resources, maybe in accounting. And so we're continually looking for how we can make those connections to tap into the resources that Seguin has. And we want to be a resource also. We want people coming on campus for our events, for the opportunities that we can provide. We do have a business partners program, so we want to sort of have a collection of local entities who are partnering with us to be known to our students and for us to make sure there's, a good communication between us and them. So there's probably no limit to what could be done, but we're very fortunate here in that there's a strong relationship with Seguin, and that means there's all kinds of opportunities to keep that going and to go and do new things that we haven't done before.
Let's talk a little bit about some of your master's programs. I know there's been some expansion and growth in that. We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. So in 2012, so not that long ago, TLU kind of took some early steps into graduate programs. And our first was the Master's of Accountancy. And that was driven largely by the accounting industry and profession and the need for that credential to be folded into undergraduate work or for students to quickly move in that direction, I guess is a better way to say it. So we basically added a year to
So it's a 5-year.
so it was a
Okay.
5-year
Yeah.
program. And then we did a couple more like that. We have a master's in athletic training and a master's in education. And then we began to branch out a little bit more,
Mhm.
adding the MBA, as I said earlier, one of our online programs, a couple of master's programs in the kind of computational science world, data science, data analytics,
Yes.
that area.
I have a cousin who is a data scientist who was a graduate from here back
Yeah.
in the 90s.
Yeah, yeah. So, again, the goal in all of this, there's a couple of things kind of that run true in any of our graduate programs.
Mhm.
They're always going to be connected to the strengths of our undergraduate programs. In other words, we're not going to go out and start something that we're not doing well at the undergraduate level. But we also try to really be attentive to business needs, career needs,
Mhm.
community where are there these places where that credential can really help a student and help the needs in society. One of the big areas for us at both undergraduate and graduate level has been nursing,
Yes.
which is one of our newer programs. 2014 is when we really kind of got underway with building that program. It's now one of our largest programs. and it does
Huge
include
need. It's
Oh, yeah.
all over
I
anyways.
mean, there
Yeah.
and there are a lot of nursing programs, but there's still so much need.
Yeah.
So we started here with a traditional undergraduate program in Seguin,
Okay.
built that carefully, made sure excellence was all the way through it, strong passing rates, so our students, there was no question that we were not doing anything other than the best.
Right.
But once we had that in place, then we had the opportunity to move into accelerated nursing. So nursing programs for students who already have a degree
Mm-hmm.
that can come in and go 16 months, and after that, then they'll have a nursing degree. So if I'm doing a completely different career and I want to change careers to become a nurse, my previous career and education are honored, but at the same time, I have to make this sort of short-term commitment to retool to become a nurse.
So even for a liberal arts guy like me, I mean, who does not have all the science coursework,
Right.
that somebody could enter in and
Design
go to
can
nurse-
help.
All right.
Yeah, you might have to take the occasional class or two that you don't have, but
Remediate
Does-
some of my lack of knowledge for sure, probably.
designed to move you in so that you can get this retooling and this degree in an accelerated fashion. So we took that first to New Braunfels
Yes.
and have the accelerated
Resolute.
at Resolute, and then we took it to Houston. And there, we're not in a hospital. We partner with hospitals, but
Okay.
we repurposed some office space and have a teaching and lab area there. It's been very successful. I mean, it's successful in terms of enrollment numbers, graduates, job placement, all of that. Very successful. Along the way, we knew this was an area where master's degree would be important.
Mhm.
So we've moved to start that as well in nursing. Currently have it in New Braunfels and will have it in Houston. So there are just so many different things you can do with that area. And the need,
Sure.
like you said, the need is so great. I know that will continue to be a growth area for us. But when you put all that together, what that means is in a fairly short period of time, we have moved into, I would say, in a careful and focused way, and in an aligned way, some really good graduate programs.
That sounds excellent. That's you've really I remember was it 20 some odd years ago when it was TLC.
Mhm.
Of course, everybody loved to call it TLC,
Yeah,
right? But you really have kind of delivered on the promise of being a fully fledged university
Yeah.
there and delivering at all levels.
Right. I
That's-
mean, and you can do that and still be primarily an undergraduate institution, which
Mm.
we are. The majority of our students are here for a 4-year degree, but you can add those other things on and just enhance the experience for everyone. And that's what we're trying to do.
Fantastic. Okay, so there's one other thing that obviously we need to address. This is Texas Lutheran University. So here's your shot. Tell me why.
Yeah.
And what is this? What is the core of TLU that really drives you here?
Yeah. So our faith identity is incredibly important to us. We were founded with a close tie to a specific denomination,
Yeah.
and as I said earlier, to training Lutheran ministers. I mean, that was what birthed us to
Right.
begin with. I think one of the great things about TLU's story is that over the years, we've stayed true to that original tie, even as we've evolved and changed and certainly broadened the students that we serve. But I think being a Lutheran institution, it does mean that we have a tie and a connection to the Lutheran Church, which we're very proud of. It also means that as we educate our students, we're very interested in their spiritual development. It does not mean that we're serving primarily Lutheran students, because that's not the case today. But it does mean that we work hard for students to understand what faith can give them and how it is part of their educational process, to be stronger in their beliefs, to explore their beliefs, to understand why they believe what they do, and to learn from others around them who may or may not believe the same thing. So I kind of go back to one of the phrases that Lutherans like to use, which is all are welcome.
Yeah.
We try to live into that as we also have a clear sense of who we are as a Lutheran institution.
Fantastic. Okay, so there's one other thing that we always ask, apparently, Uh, and that is when my producer remembers to tell me that we're going to ask it. So, and that is that. Where do you like to go in skiing? What's your favorite?
Yeah.
Now, this could. I hopefully this won't alienate anybody, and this doesn't have to mean you don't like anything else. But what's the really things? What do you recommend?
Okay, so I'm going to have to be diplomatic.
I know,
just-
I know you will, and that's why it's tough every time you interview a politician. That's what you.
Well, but let me talk about it this way. I think there's several things about Seguin that are just so exciting and so fun and so good for our students and for this institution. For one thing, I think there's just a whole lot of natural beauty here. You got a beautiful river, you got a lot of outdoor opportunities. The city's done a great job of making those more accessible. So that's great. And, for our students, they love that sort of thing. So that's really good. Another thing I think that's so much fun right now, and many of my colleagues around the country don't have this, is growth. I mean, we're just sitting in the midst of unprecedented growth. And I think Seguin is really paying attention to that and looking to see how we tap into that and use it, even as we keep sort of the spirit of Seguin. But I mean, I talk to college presidents all the time who are living in areas where there is no growth. And I guarantee you, this is the preferred way and place to be. So again, I'm going to diplomatically stop and not name all my favorite places because I might.
I'm going to get your favorite hamburger out of you.
I know. I have so many good hamburgers and barbecue in this town, and a lot of good favorite spots.
All right. Well, I'll let you live with your diplomatic answer. Dr. Cottrell, thank you so much for joining us. It has really just been an absolute pleasure to get to meet you.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Discover Seguin. If you'd like to find more episodes and see what we're doing here in the Seguin area, you can visit us at discoverseguin.com. Thank you.